Hi! In this video, the goal is to assemble all the main components of the engine. If everything goes as planned, by the end of the day, we will have the crankshaft in with the pistons, all the stuff around, and we will have the cylinder head torqued on the block. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy this kind of content. And if you do, consider to subscribe and activate notifications. Follow me also on social networks, especially on Instagram, because I post regular updates between the videos. At this point, we are ready to start the assembly, but first, I want to do something. I want to put in the plugs here on the side to have all this taken care and sealed. Usually, the plugs go in directly, but I like to put some sealant on the edge to help to ensure a perfect seal. Not too much, just a little bit, because the plug will be tight there and it will seal completely. Now that I have the sealant there, I use a 24mm socket to apply the bigger ones. You see, they fit perfectly on top of the socket. So I will line them there, and now making sure that it is straight. Okay, so I'm happy with the position, so this one is done. Now just need to repeat for all the others. Oh, for the small one, it's a 20mm. The one here in the rear, the small one in the rear, I did it off camera before I put the block in here because I will not have a good access, so I put it already off camera. The bearings that I will use here, it will be from ACL race series, both to the main and for the rods. For the thrust washer, it's an original one from Mazda. Now, really important, before we install the bearings, we need to make sure that we have no oil or any contaminants here in the journals. So it is extremely important to have them really dry and with no oil at all, because we don't want these bearings to spin and to cause a really big failure. So now with the rag, give it the final wipe to ensure that we have no pieces of paper or anything in here. The key for this step is to have everything really clean. Now that I am happy with how clean they are, just check that you have one bearing with a groove and another one flat. The one in the groove goes on the bottom because you see the hole. This hole is to the port where the oil will pass and lubricate inside. So just put it in place and push it flush with the surface, with the top here. You have the groove to put it, and this should be really straightforward, no doubt. You have this indentation that goes on that groove, like that, and now just slide it. And you see, this should be perfectly flush, like this, and the hole for the oil to come, it will be right in there. Before putting the barrels, you can put the oil squirters, or you can put it right now, it's up to you, it's the same. I will put the oil squirters right now. I will now install the oil jet bolts. You just need to put them in place there and bolt them. The Mazda assembly document requests for them to be torqued between 11.8 and 17.6 Newton meter. I will torque them around 15 Newton meter and they will be fine. Next, I will put my thrust washers and I will apply assembly lube in all the bearings. So for you to mount them, they have these grooves. The grooves point out. Next, I will apply some assembly lube on the bearings. And we are now ready to put our crankshaft in place. Now with the crankshaft really clean, you can go easily and put it in the bearings. Like that. Now that our crank is in place, we can start to position the clamps. But first, we need to put the other part of the bearings in there. Here we have the number one. It's cleaned. I oil it just to store it, but it was cleaned on the ultrasonic cleaner. We can now apply the bearing itself. One more time, we have the groove to align, and then we just push it in place. In here we don't have the hole for the oil to pass. And this will be the number one. Some assembly lube, just to ensure that we don't run these guys dry on the startup. It is good to use a thick lubricant to ensure that it don't go away immediately. And now we just need to start to put it in place. We have the arrow pointing to the front of the engine and the number one pointing the position number one. Just put it in place. With the rubber mallet, you need to give it a little tap, and we can bolt it now, and then we will have the sequence to torque them. Now I will do the same for all the other caps. Let's now torque the main caps bolts. I will tighten them in 3 steps. I will do a first round with 25, a second round with 40, and the last one with 58. The sequence, it's with the engine, with the front of the engine facing left, in my case, you see. I will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's a spiral from in to out. Let's now start with this one. Now with the first torque done, let's raise to 40 and do the sequence again. And now the final one, let's raise it to 58 and give the final torque. Now with the crankshaft torqued, you should be able to move it easily. You should rotate it. You see? It is moving really fine in the bearings. You can see here the play, front and back. For the rod bearings, the procedure is the same as we did for the mains. So this should be really clean, without any oil on the surface. And then we will apply the bearing and lube the inside. In here, one more time, we don't have any holes to align, so we just need to make sure that the bearing is on the position, so that little indentation goes to the groove. And that's it, nothing more. Just like that. Easy. Then we will apply some lube inside and it will be ready. Let's prepare both parts. The one that goes to the rod and the cap. And this one is fine. Remember that we have some alignment marks in the side, so we can match them. You see? The cut there needs to align with the cut here, like this. Now we can lube them all, and they will be ready to go to the engine. We have all the bearings on the rods. Let's start with the piston number 1 and install it on the engine. Really important, we need to ensure that our cylinder wall is really well lubricated. So we'll put a generous amount of oil. I will use this generic ring compressor from Hogarth, and we will lube it inside really well also. Next, I will take the piston number 1 and I will put some rubber sleeves to avoid to damage any of the components, not the inner walls of the cylinder or the journal on the crank. With this part protected, let's now oil again really well the head here where we have the pistons. And now it's important to clock the pistons as we have indicated on the Mazda assembly manual. I don't know if you guys can see, but the assembly manual states that we have the piston ring here in the middle, and then the oil ring spacer, the waffle, must be the gap aligned with the piston pin, and then we have the top ring, the second ring, aligned with the oil rings, the up and down, against each other. So let's see if we can put the first one like it is supposed to. Let's grab the ring compressor, put it inside easily, and now we can crank it close to start to compress the rings. I'm pushing now a little bit of the piston out, and now here, yes, it's important to put it on the right position, facing with the intake on that side and the exhaust on the correct side. Let's push them a little bit more, so we have the piston rings fully compressed. Make sure everything is aligned. And let's see how it goes. And this one went smoothly, and the first piston is in. We need now to rotate and make sure we push the piston all the way up to the right place. You see, these rubber sleeves ensure that we don't damage nothing in the process. We can now take the first cap and align it in the right position. We have the indentation there, the cut. Can put it on top with the rubber mallet, tap it a little bit, here it goes, and we can hand tight the nuts, and this piston, it's ready. Let's now take the chance that this journal is on the right position and insert the cylinder number 4. The procedure should be the same. I'm almost there, just missing the cylinder number 3. I will just show you if you are not sure about the front of the piston. You have an F on the piston itself, and then on the head, on top, you have this dot, and this dot is the front of the engine, and you can also see by the size of the indentations on the piston itself where the intake valves goes and the exhaust, because the intakes are much larger and you can clearly see difference inside. So there's no way you can screw this. You have the front market on the piston, you have the dot and the valve sizes. With all the pistons in and the caps in place, it's now time to torque them. This needs to be torqued between 48 and 50 Newton meters. I will torque them in 3 stages also, and I will do 25, 40 and 50. So with no specific order, I will torque this, the cylinder number 2 and 3 first. So this goes to 25. Now 40. And the last 50. Cylinders 2 and 3 are now torqued to spec. Let's rotate the engine and do the same for cylinders 1 and 4. And at this point we have the crankshaft installed and torqued, and all the 4 pistons installed and torqued. At this point I will take care of the back seal carrier and the oil pump. By mistake they sent me the wrong retainer for the pump, so I will need to take this one, and I cannot install the right one. I need to order the right one, but this one we have. So I will start by take these guys away and then prepare all these parts with sealant to go on the engine. So with the rag, let's try to push this guy off. Okay, now it's off. Well, it's not easy to take this guy away. Let's put it to the side, because it can be helpful to push in the new one. Let me clean the inner part really well. And to get the new one in, you need to push it right here. We need to add some engine oil on the side, on the outside, so it can slide way better. Can put it here, start it by hand, like this. And now a simple way is to, let me just prepare this. Use the old one on top of it, and now it is sitting really well all around. So I don't know if you guys can see here, the sealant go all around on the groove. Nice and continuous sealant line. I'm happy with it. Let's attach this to the block. Let's add some oil also here on the face of the crankshaft, and this is where the retainer goes. The seal, it's against this face over here. Let's place this guy in here. Align it and push it in. And now let's torque the bolts. I will just hand tight them. The rear cover, it's bolted in. Now the oil pump, we also need to remove the seal. This one came off easily. This one is the one that I need to get to the right one, because the one that they sent me, it's smaller, way smaller. I don't know what happened. One last good wipe to the place where we'll put the sealant. You have a line again all around. So this requests the O-ring here and the sealant all around. We have already sealant all around. Let's now grab the O-ring. So we have here the new oil pump O-ring, genuine from Mazda. Let's put it in place. Fits like a glove. Let's install the pump in the block. You have to align the cuts here on the crank with these flat parts on the pump. It's what makes possible the movement. You know that we don't have the seal in here, but we will put the seal afterwards and just push it in. Let's now install the bolts. You remember, we have two equal length bolts, one shorter and one longer. The shorter one goes in the upper part of the oil pump, the equal length go in the middle, and the longer one goes in the side of the oil pan. They are M12 bolts and they need to be torqued to 25 Newton meters. With the surface really cleaned and the sealant applied to the oil baffle, I can now install it in place. Right in here we have the 8 bolts E12 that we will torque to 10 Newton meters. Next, I will apply one coat of sealant here on this area, and I will put in the rubber pieces that goes in here. The one that have the tabs on both sides with a larger one in the middle and two small ones, this one goes to the oil pump side, and the other that just have one tab goes to the rear cover side. You can see here clearly where the indentation is, so you can put the rubber in place. Make sure that they have sealant all around and they are aligned with the metal tabs from the oil baffle, because then they will be squeezed down and they will need to align with that metal tabs. Now that the rubbers are in place, we can put the oil picker. Now we are almost ready to put the cover in. We just need to put a new layer of sealant all around. Now over the rubber. With the sealant already applied on the top of the baffle, I will now just drop the oil pan on top and it will be ready to be bolted in place. In here we have the two longer ones that you can put right over here, and then the small ones all around. The oil pan is installed. Now that we have the bottom end closed, I will put the cylinder head on top and torque it to spec. I will start by installing these centering pins. We can now install the head gasket. Be really careful and make sure that all the channels are free. The oil channel here is free and you have it in the right position. Now we just need to bring the head in and put it in place. We can now start to install the bolts and torque it down. Let's install the head bolts. I will reuse the old bolts. I'm not installing new ones because if these bolts are torqued and they are not stretched with an angle setting, I believe that they are good to reuse and we will not have problems. Now I will just thread them to the bottom and then we'll start to tighten them in 3 steps. The bolt in sequence, it's on Mazda documents for the assembly, and in my case it came also with my head gasket from a ring, and you have the bolt in sequence here in 3 steps. I will use 30, 60, 81. Let's now torque the head. First step with 30 Newton meters. Let's now move to 60 Newton meter. Now, let's crank it to the 81. This is the final torque. I will end this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed this process. It was really fun to assemble all the engine from bottom to the top. Now we have all the bottom end assembled and ready to go. The cylinder head already torqued in place. In the next video, I will pull the 1.6 engine from the car to harvest the components that I need, for example the alternator, and then we can start to prepare those parts to keep assembling the engine and have it ready to go inside of the car. This was the video for today. I really hope you enjoy it and it can be useful for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications so you don't lose any of the new content. Follow me also on the social networks, on Facebook and special on Instagram, where I post regular updates between the videos. See you on the next one. Bye!